guys, I'm Dr. Lilit. I just finished completing a podcast with Greta where we talked about some really cool subjects on fear, anxiety, and depression. So we'll be answering a little more questions about that. First and foremost, normalizing your feelings. Like, we are human beings, we're gonna have hard days, and so that's okay. Now, with that said, you want to recognize, okay, crap, today's a little bit of a dreadful day for me, and so what are some positive affirmations that I can just practice just throughout the day, like one or two of them, like, okay, today's gonna be good, or I'm gonna get through today, or I'm grateful for XYZ. One of the most important affirmations I like using is the gratitude. So okay, I know today's really difficult or challenging, I know I'm gonna be dealing with a lot today, but I'm grateful for my health, or I'm grateful for the fact that I woke up today, or I had a great breakfast. It could be like simple things that you're grateful for. But again, just kind of refocusing your mind on more of the positive as opposed to focusing on all of the dreadful things or the bad things that might happen throughout the day. That's actually a difficult question just because depression can come and go. Now, it all depends. If you're struggling with chronic depression, that means, maybe it's genetic, maybe it runs in our family. And so that means that we might have to struggle with it throughout our lives, but that doesn't mean that we don't get to function in life and not feel like every day is a struggle. So, with, for example, chronic depression, it's about knowing yourself, knowing your symptoms, knowing when things get extreme or severe, and knowing, okay, maybe this is a time where I need to go check in with my therapist and just kind of put things together in my mind where I'm not feeling like, oh crap, this isn't going to go away anymore. Some individuals will experience depression and will work through it. It might be a situational depression, and then they can move on and continue on their lives, and maybe they'll hit another bump in the road where they might feel depression again. So it comes and goes for some individuals. For some, it's a little more, long term, but it doesn't mean that you can't work through it or there's help out there. Sometimes I ask my patients to do 5 different little exercises in the mornings. We wake up and we tell ourselves, oh, we don't have time to, read, or we don't have time to write in our journal. Actually, there's a great exercise where you can just spend 1 minute on each task, and literally you're spending just 5 minutes of your morning just, reframing your thoughts and, getting your mind in a set where you're thinking a little more positively and you're able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So one of the things I ask is just waking up and not reaching for your phone. So no screen time for just 1 minute. Just kind of taking some deep breaths, opening your eyes, just recognizing, cool, I'm waking up, I have my day to get started with, spending the second minute just maybe doing some stretches, just getting your heart rate up a little bit, moving your body a little bit, spending 1 minute just writing out some of the things you're grateful for, writing out maybe your goals list for the day, or I have to do some of these tasks for the day. Spending another minute. I always say just spend 1 minute reading a page from your favorite book, or a book that kind of sets you in the right mood or inspires you for the day or kind of gets you going for the day, or read a quote. And so just spending 1 minute of your morning doing 4 or 5 minutes of these like little tasks gets you in the right mindset. You don't feel like the day is gonna drag. You don't feel like you have all these difficult things to kind of face. And you may still feel that way, but at least they feel a lot more doable, knowing, okay, I was able to kind of focus on me in that first 5 minutes in the morning. So there is a lot of taboo pertaining to depression when it comes to the Armenian culture. There's a huge stigma on mental health in general. Of course, we're working through that stigma, and I see a lot more Armenian patients coming to me, which I am always really, really grateful for, and really surprised and get really excited when I get that phone call. However, the stigma is still out there. My dissertation was on depression amongst the Armenian population and some of the difficulties that we face. Oftentimes we just assume that, okay, therapy is only for the, quote unquote crazy, or, struggling with schizophrenia, and it's not for me. I just feel sad. In our culture, they might not even label it sad. They might say, I'm feeling like I've just been getting headaches a lot. I've been getting a lot of stomach aches. We tend to, somaticize some of our symptoms. So we feel it physically first before we can actually emotionally, label them or, call it depression or call it sadness. We're definitely working through that stigma, but it's definitely challenging to try to normalize some of these struggles for, individuals in our population. However, I still see, like I said, a lot of them still coming in and are very expressive. And even the males, a lot of male Armenian patients coming in and are able to talk about their depression and some of their struggles. I think one of the things that helps decrease some of the stigma is that, therapy is super confidential. No one knows about what you're struggling with. I'm not going to share anything, or the therapist is not going to share anything. We're actually not allowed to share any of the conversations that we have. Ethically, we're not allowed to. And that's one of the things we really value is confidentiality. We want to provide a space that's yours, that's comfortable, that's safe, so you can talk about anything that you want without any judgment. And so that's really how I approach some of my patients coming in with some of the anxieties of, crap, are you going to talk about me? Or you might know someone in my culture. And so I try to normalize a lot of this and, let them know that this actually, I can't even talk about us. This is super private, and this is one of the unique things about therapy is that it stays super private. Social anxiety is very, very common. A lot of individuals suffer from social anxiety, meaning, when they're out in public or when they're in their groups of friends or even, close people or sometimes strangers, they often feel the anxiety symptoms arise. They often feel they're not good enough. They don't have anything to say. If they say something, they might be judged. And so these are normal feelings to have. The thing with anxiety and just as a whole is the more you avoid anxiety, the more you reinforce anxiety. And so the bigger the monster gets. And so you definitely want to face anxiety. Sometimes, I know it's scary to put yourself in a social setting when you have social anxiety, but that actually tells your brain, hey, this wasn't scary. It actually desensitizes your brain to the fear. And so I tell my patients, hey, let's go find some, those meetup groups. I know you don't know anyone. This is an experiment with yourself. So let's put you in this social setting, work through some of the fears that might come up, the anxiety, take some deep breaths. You don't know these people. They don't know you. You may never see them again. But this is your chance to start facing the anxiety as opposed to constantly avoiding it. So I'll have them go into social settings. I'll have them go into, Starbucks or in coffee shops where it's a little bit busier and just sit there with yourself. Even if it's for 5 minutes for the time being, then we'll gradually work, towards staying there a little bit longer and so on. So the thing about social anxiety is just do it. That's the one way to actually start to desensitize the anxiety. First and foremost, every mom out there feels that. So, just knowing that you're not alone in and of itself is helpful. So one of the ways to not, feel that guilt or fuel that gift is maybe getting involved with support groups, with other moms and just having that space to talk about things, and things that maybe are frustrating or that make you feel guilty. Oh crap, do I have to like my kid every day? It's normal feelings to have. So being in a space where you feel safe and that in sharing these feelings and not being judged is definitely helpful. And also just knowing that it's okay. Being a mom is the hardest job in the world. It's very, very difficult, and that you're gonna have some, some of these emotions come up. And so, dealing with it and trying to balance your day-to-day tasks, practicing a lot of self-care. Okay, I've been feeling really overwhelmed, or I'm starting to feel I'm getting down on myself, or I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. Okay, let me see, my kid is doing well. Starting to kind of identify the facts of what am I doing that is right, as opposed to what am I doing that might not be right. So one of the ways to manifest success in your life if you're feeling confused is really, really trying to get focused. So you're feeling confused because you may have so many different ideas and you're not really knowing where to go and how to make it happen. I'm starting to identify, okay, what is my passion? What do I want to focus on? Who's my audience? What is the purpose of my work? And then trying to just get focused, because sometimes having our minds want to do a million different things is actually not helpful. It sounds great. It sounds to have all these wonderful ideas, and that's totally wonderful. Put them out on Post-it notes, stick them in behind your door and have them there, because those ideas will eventually evolve. But for the time being, pick one or two and start focusing and honing in on what that actually looks like. The other thing is just do it. The fear is what's stopping you. The fear isn't going to go away unless you face it. So just do it. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Fail quickly, learn, and then get back on your feet again and continue to, focusing again, continue, okay, cool, I learned this, now I'm going to make these changes. And then continue just to visualize, the image of what is it that you're creating. That's a little bit of a difficult topic just because that individual seems to, and they're not my patients obviously, so I'm not diagnosing or providing any sort of therapy, but it appears they may be self-medicating to try to cope with the depression. And so I would encourage you just to talk to your loved one, express your concerns, come from a perspective of, I'm worried about you. So using some I statements. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about, how you might be dealing with the sadness or the depression, as opposed to, you're feeling sad, you're drinking. That individual's going to get defensive and not be receptive to your help. So really, honing in on your emotions and speaking from that I perspective of, I'm worried. Can we get help? I'll help you find therapists. I'll help you find the help you need, and then help you get back on your feet. But having a dialogue and conversation with them where it doesn't feel like it's an attack, or it doesn't feel like you're telling them what to do, just expressing your feelings and concerns, and then hopefully they are receptive. At the end of the day, they have to make that choice for themselves if they really want that help, but it doesn't mean that you can't express how concerned you are or how much you would like to see them get the help. Depression can be chronic. It can also be situational. It can be for the time being as you're going through a patch in your life. But if you feel like you've been taking the medications that have been prescribed and they're still not working for you, I would encourage you to talk to your psychiatrist or whoever the prescribing provider is and just express your concerns. Like, listen, I've been doing all of this and it's just not helping. The other thing I recommend, medication is 50% of the treatment. If you're not in therapy, then you're not doing the other 50%. Medication isn't going to teach you how to change certain thoughts, isn't going to give you the coping tools. It'll help manage some of the emotions so that maybe you're a little more receptive in therapy. However, it's not going to fix it. A lot of individuals want that quick fix, and I completely understand. You don't want to struggle with those feelings. However, you want to do the other 50% of the work and make sure you're also in therapy. So the combination of the two can actually work, and whether that means, finding a different provider, changing meds, and then, having that other second support system of like your therapist can help you feel like you have a good treatment team helping and working for you. Sometimes a lot of individuals who struggle with anxiety also have depression and vice versa. So it actually overlaps, so it can get a little confusing. But, with depression, you definitely feel a sense of, a lot of negative self-worth. You feel low energy. You might feel the sadness. You might not have, fatigue. You might feel you're just not motivated to do anything. You lose interest in some of the things that were interesting for you. Whereas anxiety may feel a little more restless, a little more like racing thoughts, like I can't get my thoughts right. I'm constantly hyperventilating or just, trying to catch my breath. Or I'm constantly nervous and shaky. So they do overlap. It's hard to differentiate, but one with depression, obviously you feel a lot more like the sadness and the low energy of it, whereas anxiety, you might feel more restless, more like I can't contain my thoughts and my emotions. When you feel anxiety and feel like, well, there's nothing wrong in my life, why am I feeling this way? You don't have to have something really go wrong in your life for you to have certain emotions. You can have anxiety even when things seem like they're going perfectly. It could be these automatic thoughts that you've already created in your mind that you're not even aware of. Oftentimes our thoughts will trigger our emotions. And when we go through our day-to-day life, these thoughts become very automatic, so you're not even aware, oh crap, I thought about, I'm not doing this right, or I woke up like, oh, I'm gonna have a bad day. You're already setting the tone for yourself, and so you're already triggering that anxiety. And so really honing in and becoming aware of, what am I really thinking about? Things are okay in my life, everything seems to be going well, but I'm having this angst feeling. So let me identify what's running through my mind on a day-to-day basis, or just sit with yourself for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what have I been thinking about today? Can I identify any of these thoughts that may seem negative, that might have triggered this feeling of anxiety? And then you can, as you hone in on the thoughts, then you can start seeing, are they more negative based? Are they more positive based? And if they're more negative, really challenge those thoughts. Try to reframe them a little bit for yourself. Use some positive affirmations, and just try to contain them. Alright guys, so I'm Dr. Lilit. It was a pleasure talking to you all and giving you guys some of these tips and tricks, and I look forward to meeting some of you. And if you ever feel like you need to get the help that you need, my information is below. Feel free to contact me. My office is located in Pasadena, and we'll be talking soon.